So hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of the top 10 best user created maps from Hat in Time for the time period between release on 5th of October and today, which is 27th of October, which are the first few release weeks. Now the first few big maps have come in, they have happened, they have been uploaded to the Steam Workshop. People have been testing stuff out, people have been going at it, making some maps, and I thought I would take the time and honor those people that in those trying weeks after release managed to put together something amazing. Now we're gonna start off with the honorable mentions, of which there are 3. First off, we have Gearway Inc. by infectedfury, a name that you will hear quite a lot more often. So Gearway Inc. starts out and it looks really great. You have this amazing scenery around you, this really cool theming that's going on as well, of like being inside this factory with a lot of gears running around. You have the robot janitors running around as well, and it feels like this might be a really cool stage. But the problem why this didn't make it in top 10 is because I feel like the gameplay aspect was maybe a bit too weak to just barely not make it into top 10. Because most of the stage is just going between quite a load of different grapple hook points, and then every now and then you just run over a platform, and then there's another bit of grapple hook points. And I feel like it didn't quite work out, it didn't feel that great to play through in my opinion, especially when you fall off at some point and you get sent back like half a minute because the checkpoints also aren't quite as great. Overall, it looks great. There is a lot of potential here, but it just didn't quite play as well. Next up, we have Subcon Tower Rift, which I thought had some really amazing, cool sequences of jumps that you have to do, which reminded me of some old Unreal Tournament 2004 Trials maps, if people out there still remember what that is. Because it feels like you are presented with some sort of problem, like here's 2 platforms and in a specific environment. How do you chain together all your different abilities to make it to that platform? It's not just you double jump, you dive, recover. It might just be like, oh, you jump to the wall, then double jump off the wall, then jump into something else. It does really create some really cool and interesting strategies that you're gonna have to come up with yours by yourself. And it feels really cool when you figure that out and you do get to do it, you do the jump correctly, you do make it nice. The problem that I have with this rift is it does feel very empty, like there's a lot of empty space in that rift. You really could have done with actually putting stuff in that stage that isn't just the required jumps. Like put some flavor in there. I was missing the flavor. There was like none of that in there. Doesn't mean it looked too badly. I mean, it did look alright at some points, but yeah, missing some of that flavor. And some of the jumps were just a bit too frustrating to figure out, mostly because they were very precise. Some other places stuff didn't just quite work as intended, felt a bit odd. So yeah, sadly no top 10 for that as well. And then we have Void Peace Time Rift by Arikira. Oh, I forgot to mention Subcon Tower Rift by Hatty. So yeah, now we have Void Peace Time Rift by Arikira, and this one was more of a testing map. But at least the stuff that I see in that stage, it does show a lot of potential. Graphically, it looks alright, even though it's the basic Time Rift theme. But it is like, it's the basic Time Rift theme, but also the Void theme, which I think does mesh pretty well. Does have some cool ideas there, but like I said, mostly just for testing purposes, so nothing too special there. But this is something that we're going to have to look out for in the future, because I know that there's more of it coming where that came from. But now, into the top 10. On number 10, we have Alpine Climb by Silverfeeling. Alpine Climb is one of these stages that takes something that we saw from the main game, which is the mountain assets, and tries to make something even more crazy with them. Not just having like, okay, we're just gonna have the mountain assets, but we're gonna have regular jump run stuff. Now we have the mountain assets, but we're gonna do some crazy precise stuff, or some, I want to say, puzzle aspect where you have to look around, see where stuff is, and trying to figure out what sort of jump you're going to have to do next. And it does feel pretty nice to play through, but the problem is it only feels nice to play if you're a good player. If you're not that good at the game, this is one of those stages that can very easily make you very frustrated. And also something to note is that there is some flavor here and there, but the actual jump and run stuff that you do is just you have a bunch of for the most part, not everywhere, but for the most part, you have like just a bunch of locks and you just jump from the locks. Okay, maybe there could have been done something more. Like, I feel like this is one of those stages that has a lot of potential, and it needed more work on it. I feel like this stage just needed a bit more work on it, but it looks nice and it feels alright to play, and it feels very nice to play if you are a good player and you know what to do and you can just do the jumps over and over. If you do a few jumps and you fall off because maybe you misjudged a few jumps and get sent back and oh, now I have to climb everything again, not a nice feeling at all. Not a nice feeling at all. On number 9 we have The Unforgiving Rift by Werty100. The Unforgiving Rift is a really cool rift, but it does fall a bit into that trap of, well, it's really easy to make a stage that is really difficult, but it is extremely hard to make a stage that is really difficult, but also is very fun to play. Now, there are some places in this map that are fairly enjoyable to play. There are some really cool pieces of movement. You can do the dweller puzzles, are not too overly complex, but they still feel nice to play, and they aren't completely easy, I would say. There is some sort of difficulty to them, but the problem that I have with that one is that the checkpoints aren't quite set nicely enough. But you could say, well, it's supposed to be the Unforgiving Rift, so if you fall off you get sent back half a minute. I understand that, but that's not very fun. That's the kind of thing. Like, you can say like, oh, it's supposed to be very difficult, but then where's the fun? That's sort of something that I'm always wondering about. Even Dark Souls, which is super difficult, is a lot of fun because of the way it's designed. But I feel like this stage falls on its face sometimes. Especially, everyone knows that one piece, we have that one balloon next to a white wall, next to a green wall, and you're trying to figure out how to get to the next balloon, and most players get stuck there for like a really long time. If you actually know what to do, which I'm gonna tell you, you go to the right wall first from that downwards balloon, double jump onto the balloon, from the balloon you double jump onto the green wall, you wait a bunch, you don't instantly jump, you wait a bunch for the balloon to come back, you jump back on the balloon, on the white wall, double jump to the next part, done. It's a really cool movement, really cool idea, but because of how it's presented and at which point it is in the stage as well, like it's 1.5 minutes or like 1 minute after the last checkpoint, which is and you can't really look at it. Like I said, it does fall on its face quite a bit. Not quite too much of a fan, but I like the parts where it plays well. The parts where it plays well is really nice. It's really nice in the parts where it plays well. You just needs to iron out some of the balloon jumps, less balloon jumps. I mean, I know they're a bit difficult, but the reason why they're difficult is because they're stupid, not because they're not fun at all. They're not fun. Yes, they're difficult, but they're not fun. Less of that, please. Next up, on number 8, we have a typical Mafia rift. This is one of those maps also where you take something from the main game, you try and spruce it up a bit, make something amazing with it. And what I really like here is that you really, by Hyrule Chosen, I forgot to mention that. What I really like here is that he did actually manage to make a rift that feels like it maybe of course with some changes, could have maybe been seen in the main game. You maybe missing the water in the bottom, maybe some places are a bit rough, but for the most part I really like the way he used all the different assets to create these mini challenges. It feels fairly open, it's not too linear. There are some challenges that you need to look out for. You need to like, okay, where are all the different ponds, where are all the different tickets, try and look for them as well. Of course you can see where the tickets are, not the ponds. It does have a bit of variety in the gameplay as well. It looks nice. Like, there's not too much to say about it though, other than, well, the stuff that's there is alright, but it's nothing hyper special. Like, this one, it doesn't really elevate the game to new heights. It doesn't do anything super special. It's a good stage. It's not a great stage, but it's a good stage. What it does well, but like I said, it doesn't do anything super special, and it doesn't do anything super well, in my opinion. So next up, at number 7, we have the I Test M's Treasure Hunt by Lappy. So this is basically the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker testing map that is hidden in the game files. which people have found, and he basically made it into a treasure hunt stage. Now, I haven't actually played the Wind Waker test map, so I can't actually say how precise it is of a recreation, but personally I don't really mind if it's precise or not. I don't really care too much if it's precise or not. What I care about is how it plays, how it looks, how it feels. Now, the look is obviously of it being the testing stage, which I think is a cool theme in itself. Don't do too much with it. Like, having 1 or 2 maps is alright, and like right now we have 1 map of it, which is alright. Don't overdo it. But I really like the way it plays as well, because there's a lot of different variety everywhere. You have like this big playing ground where you have different challenges all over the place that you can take a look at in any different order that you want to do it in any which order you want. And the orders, the challenges are very different as well. Like, some are very easy, you crawl through a hole in the ground. Some are a bit weird, where you have to open a door and then something appears. Not really a challenge, but more like something to look at and just play through, I guess. Then you defeat some enemies, then you climb some stuff, then you have to figure out where the cherry is and where the ghost is and how to throw it at the ice. It's once again, it's nothing too super special, apart from maybe that door opening stuff. I have no idea how that even works, but I want to say it does really manage to make this test map into something that feels pretty interesting. Like, it feels very interesting to play through that stage. It does give you a really cool feeling, and that's what I like about that stage. The theme is cool, it looks alright, and it plays alright. So that's why that one is at number 7. Next up, also by Hyrule, chosen one at number 6, we have Whomp's Fortress Super Mario 64. I think this was the second map that was uploaded to the workshop, and it's actually a recreation of Whomp's Fortress that looks alright, looks pretty right. Like I said, it's not a completely faithful recreation, but I don't really care too much if it's faithful enough. I don't give bonus points for faithful recreations, because what usually happens is people try and make something very faithful, and then it plays like garbage. I want it to play nice, and this plays nice. This plays okay, not super nice, but it plays alright. Like, it is playable in the Hat in Time engine. It has some stuff here and there. It uses these really weird plants. I have no idea where they're even from, but they're in the game files apparently. And it has some other stuff attached to it on the side that plays alright as well. Like, overall, I really like, of course, the theme behind it. You take something from another game, you port it over, just like the testing map, and then you try and be like, okay, now I have this ported over, how do I make it into a stage? And for the most part, this stage did a really great job. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. This is a really weird stage, where a lot of really crazy stuff happens, but I think it does play fairly alright. It does play fairly alright, and it's very interesting to look through it and try and explore all the different areas and try and find all the different tickets, which is also not super easy. So yeah, I really like that stage as well. Next up, on number 5, we have Dweller Crow's Time Rift by infectedfury. So this Time Rift, theming wise, it's a very basic Time Rift. Blue Time Rift, nothing too special, but what I really liked about this stage is you take 2 aspects, something that we're going to see later as well. You take 2 themes, aspects, things, ideas, anything, and you just mash them together. In this case, it was Dweller Mask and the Detector Crows. And you just mash them together and you see what you get. And I really like the way it used these 2 different aspects to create all these different challenges. Now, it's not anything too special to look at. The theme, like I said, also not too special, but I really like the gameplay aspect. I really feel like this is something that we really need to see more of, where instead of just looking what other people do, look what the main game did, and just try and recreate that a bunch, gameplay-wise, like, oh, here's just a bunch of hookshot stuff, here's just a bunch of rotating stuff that you jump over, whoop-de-doo, nothing too special. But instead trying to create new and interesting challenges out of the stuff that you have, or as you're gonna see later, mashing 2 different themes together to also create something visually different. That's something that I really want to see more of, and Dweller Crows did a good job, at least gameplay wise, on delivering on that. Next up, on number 4, we have Ice Statue's Icy Price by Brown Seagull. This is another stage that, similarly to Dweller Crows, it is a blue Time Rift, but it does have some really interesting gameplay aspects in it. It does manage to color code some areas, which I really liked as well. Color coding, nice. As long as it doesn't get obnoxious. Don't make it obnoxious, guys, if you do color coding. Make it subtle, but you still notice it, like, oh, this is the brown area, this is the green area, cool stuff. And also, he also has these different areas all the time with different ideas. Like, you have the green leaf area where you have rotating platforms, or platforms that flip, rather, flip swap, nice. And then you have the brown area where you have stuff that like wobbles around a bit, which is also interesting. And the stage, it is not super short, but it does have a lot of variety in it. You never really see the same thing twice for longer than like 10 seconds. And I really enjoy that. He manages to keep it fresh all the way throughout. Now, it does have some rough spots here and there. Some places don't quite play as well as others, which kind of is to be expected, but I will have to give some minus points for that, for the rough edges. And also, it is a basic time rift, but at least above being a basic time rift, it does have some interesting stuff visually here and there. Like I said, with the color coding, he did some stuff at the end with the big ice block, which I really found enjoyable. Or how he used the burgers for platforms. Whatever, looked nice, felt nice. Maybe didn't play quite as nice, because if you get snagged on the edge of that hamburger, you fall off. Bit weird. But yeah, solid gameplay. Like, this is one of the stage rifts that are probably some of the best gameplay in there, apart from maybe some minor rough edges. So yeah, that's why that one is number 4. On number 3, we have Power Peak by Traveling Headless Merchant. Power Peak is a stage that, when I first made this list, I had lower on the list, because when I first played through this stage, I was reminded that every single time you fall off, you get sent back to the start. And that is a really, really bad feeling. Really, really bad. But then I looked at the stage again and I realized that, hey, apart from that, this stage is really cool. It has an interesting theme of it being like some sort of a rift, but you have like this big tower from stage 4, from the Alpine skyline. You have different themes a bit messed together. You have some of the spiders in there. It looks a bit spooky here and there. It uses some assets from the final stage of the game, from Time's End, I think it's called, Mustache Girl's Castle or whatever. And it uses that as well. It combines a few, like you have these like horns with the rotating platforms on top of it. It looks nice, it feels nice, it has a bit of variety in the gameplay. It does have some rough edges here and there where it felt like, some of those wall jump sections with the wood part felt a bit overdone. Not very fun either. But overall, I think this is a very enjoyable stage, and it shows you what you can do if you try and go above just doing a time rift. I don't really have anything against time rifts, like basic time rifts per se. Like I said, you have 2 basic time rifts on number 4 and 5, so I really don't have anything against them by themselves. It's just that if you can have something that is amazing gameplay-wise, but also looks amazing, that's just better than something that looks basic but plays amazing. Of course, if it plays amazing and it looks bad, I still like that better than something that looks amazing but plays bad. Like, I always value the gameplay aspect more. But if you have the gameplay aspect and it looks nice, then that just elevates it a bit higher. And at least that's my personal view on the entire thing, and that's why Power Peak is number 3, because it also looks pretty nice and has a really cool theme to it. Speaking about cool themes, on number 2 we have Subcon Castle, also by infectedfury. Yes, that guy has 3 maps on this list, because everything that guy touches is amazing. I haven't actually... But there's another map actually that I haven't played, the Meat Mayhem, mostly because every single time I try and play it, it crashes, and I couldn't get it to play after 3 weeks, no matter what I did. I don't know. Anyway, we have Subcon Castle by infectedfury, and number 2. This is another stage where you take 2 themes and you just mesh them together. In this case, we have Subcon Forest and Mustache Girl Castle get sort of slammed together, and what you get is this really, really cool looking place with this really nice theme where it's just a joy to walk through and play through that stage, just visually. Like, this is one of those stages that visually get like almost full perfect rating. Gameplay wise, it has some variety, like it does have different challenges in it, but I would have to say that the balancing is a bit all over the place. Like some places you can just sort of blindly run through and nothing big is gonna happen. If you get hit, doesn't matter, there's a health pond right after that. Though I guess these sections are more towards the beginning of the stage, and if it's towards the beginning it's alright, because the easier part should be towards the beginning, but I felt like it was maybe a bit trivial in some cases, and in other cases, well, if you use a time stop at it, it's super trivial. But I'm not gonna go too much for difficulty. Difficulty is not usually something that I look at. I just felt like it was a bit too simple. You could just hold forward, left and right a bit. I don't know. I guess you could say similar stuff about other stages. I haven't mentioned this for other stages, but other stages also have these parts where it feels like there's not too much going on. Like, for example, hookshot sections. I've mentioned hookshot sections a bunch. I don't really like hookshot sections. If you can do something instead of a hookshot section that is alright, do that. Do that. It should be your goal to get hookshot sections out of it. Because hookshot sections are just, you just press X over and over and you don't do anything. You don't do anything in hookshot sections. They are like auto-scroller pretty much. I really don't like hookshot sections. And there are a few hookshot sections in Subcon Castle, but at least you have to look around every now and then, see where the next hookshot is. It's not just 5 hookshots in a row, even though it does have some of that in there. But like I said, it's not just that. The reason why Subcon Castle is that high is like I said, mostly I really like the themes. I like the way it plays, even though it does have some rough edges here and there. I still like the way it plays. It does have some varied challenges here and there. Even though most of the challenges are based on dodging stuff, I still like it. This is one of those things that the more I talk about it, the less awesome it seems. But when I just play through that stage, it's just a joy to play through. I just really like playing through that stage. And I really like looking at that stage. It's a stage that's just very fun. It's just a very fun stage. It does get tripped up here and there, but it does have a lot of fun in it. That's why Subcon Castle is number 2. And on number 1, we have everyone who knows that this map exists and has wondered, where is it on the list? Well, here it is. It's Her Dream by DanielCNR. This stage, yeah, just look at it. Just look at this stage. So first off, visually, it just explodes in your face, like guzzles all over your face. It's like, look at all this amazing stuff. It doesn't just look nice. The theme is also pretty nice, where it's a dream, so there's really weird stuff going on. Everything is really big, but there's lava everywhere. Then suddenly you go around a corner and you're in a different room. You jump in another vent, suddenly you're in a different room as well. Stuff doesn't quite make sense spatially, but it's supposed to not make sense spatially. That's the whole thing. Stuff is not supposed to be coherent because it's a dream. Then you are in a really weird, otherworldly looking section as well, and then you have that. I don't know where that came from, other than the game files, but yes, that exists. It's amazing. I have to say, that right there is not just why it's number 1. If it didn't have that in it, it would still be number 1. That's just the cherry on top. That's just the cherry on top, that it also has that. But gameplay-wise, it also, for example, you have different sections at the start. You have to figure out how to move through this area that really doesn't look like it wants you to go through it, because you have all these really weirdly looking different objects. Like, of course, there is a path through it to take, and this path is shown by ponds. Nice use of ponds, but I haven't mentioned this, by the way. But also Subcon Castle and Power Peak, another reason why they're so high is because they use ponds really well as a guide. So I mentioned that earlier. But also, you have, like, anyway, coming back to this, in Her Dream, you have like these ponds guiding away through this section with like lava on the floor, and you have to jump over the all these like really big blown up objects, which feels really interesting to do. It, even though most of the time you're just double jumping, you may be sprinting a bit, you may be diving, which in itself feels a bit basic. I mean, of course, double jump diving, basic, but the way it's used in here and how the environment works and how you move through the environment just makes it very fun and enjoyable and makes it something different. It makes it something special. And then you have the next few areas where every single area you have a little bit of a different theme going on. Maybe there's a little bit too much reliance here on the grapple hooks. Like, not even this stage is perfect. it's not perfect at all, but still managed to clinch out the #1 spot. Like, for example, you have like I said, you have more grapple hook sections, you have some other stuff where you do some stuff with the Dweller Mask, then you have this really cool puzzle where all the walls are black and you can't really see too much, so you have to like edge your way to the outer edge and then have your camera swing around the corner, see where the next platform is, and then jump around like that, which is also a really interesting way of doing stuff. So yeah, overall, the stage has an amazing theme. It plays really well, it's fun to go through, it has a really nice special theme to it, it looks really nice, it's a blast to play through, and as a cherry on top, it has that. So yeah, that was the first top 10 best user-created levels of the release weeks. If you disagree with anything on my list, which you probably will, I mean, probably everyone is going to have their own individual list, but at least I hope that the stages where the most people will agree that these are the best stages are towards the... I think that even if your exact number 10 is a bit different, I still think that, for example, stages like Her Dream, Subcon Castle, and Power Peak are definitely top 5 stages. I'm absolutely certain on that, and I think most people would agree with that. And that's usually what the big goal and idea is behind the top 10. Not to have an exact top 10, but to have a basic understanding, or consensus rather, to have a basic consensus between us on where stages should be on the list. Now, of course, there's a ton of maps that didn't make the list, but I think apart from Meat Mayhem, I played pretty much every single stage that was out on the workshop, and if it wasn't on the top 10 or even in the honorable mention, then I just didn't think it was too special or too good. Anyway, that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The next one will come in probably 2 weeks, unless a ton of really good maps come out, then maybe I'll do like a top 5 in 1 week. We'll take a look, we'll see. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me in the comments what you agree with, what your personal top 10 might be. And yeah, if you want to just play the maps yourself, go to the Steam Workshop for Hat in Time, type in the name of the map that was on screen for all of those, and then you can subscribe to them. I have another video that shows you where you can activate mods, but TLDR, you right-click the game in your Steam library, go to opt-in betas, and you opt into the modding beta. That's how you do it. Anyway, that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.